people. And like I said, you'll always have that imposter syndrome. I've been here for almost 3 years, and I always feel like, do I even fit in this organization, or do I even belong to Google?
Thank you, Shri, for your time today. Really, really appreciate it. Would you please tell me a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Yeah. Happy to be here. This is Shri Harkare. I am a global head of cross Google, solutions and industry engagement team. I'm part of that. I actually lead a team globally at Google, and primarily focusing on retail and CPG. My whole career, my whole journey has been primarily focused on a lot of go-to-market efforts. Really, I came from Adobe. Spent most of my career as an engineer. Decided to make a transition. Kind of, got the tech bug, caught that bug, and then decided to kind of move to technology. Got into management consulting. Did consulting for a range of customers, and then joined Adobe, focusing on a lot of go-to-market efforts. Adobe was moving from a perpetual to subscription licensing model, so it was a great opportunity for me. So spent a ton of time leading a team globally there, focusing on sales strategy and go-to-market efforts for the Experience Cloud business, and then kind of got into a bunch of M&As, and really kind of pulled myself into doing a lot of M&A work there. And then great opportunity came to me at Google, where a new team was being formed for mergers and acquisitions of a lot of cloud companies, and joined Google. Been at Google for almost 3 years, and focusing on a lot of acquisitions there. I did 6 acquisitions at Google, and then decided to kind of go back to my roots of go-to-market strategy and get industry engagement effort. And since then I've been focusing on a lot of retail strategy and CPG strategy there. So
yeah. So you mentioned that this opportunity came up to you. Can you tell me a little bit about your process of going from Adobe to Google? Was
sure.
that did you have a referral? Did you apply to this job? Did you what was the interview process look like?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was really enjoying what I was doing at Adobe, and like I said, most of my life I've spent on go-to-market strategy, focusing on designing of new products and solutions and taking them to market, and then also making sure that we're tracking the success of the go-to-market efforts in the organization. And Adobe was really going through a transformation, but sometimes it's not by you don't plan everything all the time. And I got an opportunity to work on an acquisition at Adobe, and I really got sucked into, because it really was an opportunity where I could apply a lot of my experience based on some of the strategic projects I had done. And I ended up working on a couple of acquisitions there, and that really was a great combination, because I think the skill which Google was looking for, and somebody from the Google team reached out to me. They were building a new team focusing on go-to-market efforts for new acquisitions, which means if you acquire a new company, how do you go to market with that company without disrupting the sales momentum, without disrupting the product? So they didn't really have a ton of talent available in that specific space. And I was fortunate that I was really part of this journey at Adobe, which helped me to kind of get into the Google organization. And I was one of the founding members of that team, and we really started from scratch. So that's how I kind of got into the team. I got the opportunity to build this team from scratch. And like I say, I ended up working on 6 acquisitions.
Awesome. So what does the interview process look like for like managers, or like I most of the time I talk with individual contributors like ICs. I'm like, what would it look like for managers? I'm kind of curious there.
At Google?
Yeah.
Well, I think one of the great things about Google, I would say, is it's not like the managers are always, it's not the typical setup of how a manager is,
Okay.
within an organization. I think at Google, typically every employee and every individual within the team has immense, power to kind of drive strategic initiatives, take
Hmm.
initiatives. One of the great positives, or something which really attracted me, is the opportunity to fail. It's always okay to fail. So you're never at the mercy of like your manager giving you certain projects or assigning you to something. You have the opportunity to drive innovation there. And I think even though I would say there is not a lot of oversight required by a manager, you don't really have to behave like a manager. It's a very collaborative organization. So as an individual within the team, every person has, a strong ability to just kind of take some like great idea, start working on it, and really drive it to completion. And as a manager, you are empowered to provide all the support and
Hmm.
all the capabilities or all the tools which are required to drive. And even though it may not 100% align to what your larger objectives are, but as a manager, you have your own set of OKRs for the team, and your goal is to kind of achieve those OKRs.
Hmm.
But at the individual level, as a team member, you can still do a lot of innovative stuff, and you have immense amount of freedom to kind of take
Hmm.
a risk, fail. It's completely okay to fail, come back and start again. So, in one way, the managers don't have to worry too much because they don't have to provide too much guidance. Every individual is really smart at Google. They really know what they are doing and they really have the right direction. But on the other side, they also have to kind of there is a sense of responsibility on the manager to provide the right path, create the right opportunity for that individual
Sure.
within the team to take that risk and do it without any fear of failure, right? Like it's okay to fail. So it's
Yeah.
kind of a catch 22 kind of situation. Like, hey, I'm allowed to take a lot of risks. I can let the person take a lot of risks, but I also want to make sure that we are moving forward with the larger OKR. So it is a lot of work there, and as a manager, but it's also fun because there are some
Yeah.
great ideas, which come out of some of these things.
I think this is a great time to ask. So, can you tell me a little bit about the culture of Google and maybe, if you're comfortable, the work-life balance as well?
Sure. Yeah, I think one of the great things about what attracted me, to be honest, I there are three things I usually look for, and one, the most important one, is learning. Right? How much learning opportunity do I have? Am I going to learn here, or am I going to do what I was already doing? Right? I
Hmm.
think the culture of Google is very focused on learning, very focused on collaboration.
Hmm.
I think the reason why, same as with Amazon, like the reason why we are one of the most innovative companies is because we innovate through collaboration. We don't innovate by just because one person had a great idea and everyone just kind of executed against it. So
Hmm.
I think the culture is very, very strong when it comes to elaboration. Everybody collaborates with each other. Everybody works as a team towards a common goal or objective. So it's a very collaborative environment. One, second, I think the culture overall is there's a very strong sense of empathy. Like I said, the three principles we really try to kind of implement: respect the opportunity.
Hmm.
Working at Google is a great opportunity. Respect that, respect the user, and respect each other. And I think respecting each other is deeply embedded in the culture of Google, and they've tried to preserve it, maintain it, and I think that helps in really bringing a sense of humility, and be an individual. There's some humility when they're working on these big projects, or strategic ideas or innovative projects products. I think those kind of help in fostering a sense of responsibility, that hey, you are part of that larger story you're trying to tell, or a big
Hmm.
product you're working on. So I think the culture is very much, and we call it googliness. If you I
Of
think those are
course.
very important. Those are very important kind of areas where, which really mattered to me when I was kind of looking at Google. Uh, that was all about, what do I learn? Am I going to be, when you're, there's always this imposter syndrome. Like you always feel like, hey, do I know everything? Am I even a good fit here? But I think the folks, the culture is all about helping you to learn about the culture, learn about Google, and help you to grow, within your role. So,
Yeah.
and I was personally, I was at a stage of my career and personal life where, we just had a baby, hardly like, 14 months. And, there was a very strong need for me to also, create that work-life balance.
Yes.
And I always feel like, it's very hard to draw a line, where one starts and where the other ends. And I think Google has an amazing culture where work-life balance also is a primary focus for every employee. I think, and especially, my respect for the organization has gone up tremendously in the last 14 months, all through the pandemic. Like, we had great support from our management, from our
Uh-huh.
leadership. So I think, you know, not sending emails over the weekend, not people are not sending emails late in the night. I think there's a great respect to, to personal space, work-life balance, and I think that is something I really value on Google, especially when, and I know you've gone through your own personal journey of starting a family and everything. So
Yeah.
I think it's very important those early stages of your career. You really want to focus a good amount of time with your family,
Yeah.
and Google has been a great support, through that process. Not just from a benefit standpoint, but
Sure.
every team member has respected my time, has respected my personal space and family time, and I think that makes you more motivated to come back the next day and work harder than yesterday. And I think that's another huge attraction, and it really matters as you understand the company more and get deeper
Hmm.
with your role. So I think
That's
that's the
yeah.
overall culture, right? Really strong emphasis on creating that good balance between what you want to do and your mental health, your mental wellness, the overall sense of you know uh, where you are, especially in
Yeah.
these times. These times are really tough. It has been tough for everyone, so I think this
Yeah.
has been a very important time.
What do you like most and what do you like least about working at in your role?
Uh, so it's a good question, and it's always tough to answer because when you're looking at any organization, not just a technology company, right? Like you are always looking with a lens of what can I achieve in an organization. I think what I like about Google is I think when you spend maybe a couple of years in the organization, your thinking shifts from what can I achieve to what can Google achieve, and how can
Mm.
I add value to that achievement, right? I think I haven't. There is a very strong sense of belonging in this
Hmm.
organization, and I think what I like about it is that many times, and I always get this question like, "Hey." A lot of people reach out, hey, I have a great opportunity for you. And I'm like, why should I go out when I have an
Yeah.
ocean full of opportunities? And what Google offers you is, and one of the key principles I've applied is I always try to be uncomfortable in what I'm doing, which means I'm learning. And I get this sense that if I start getting comfortable, I don't have to look out. Google gives you that, it's an ocean full of opportunities. I can be a technical person at Google to becoming a writer or a blog writer within Google to becoming like a video editor or working at YouTube or an
Yeah.
influencer, whatever I want. I can do any, sometimes I've seen roles which are so kind of like you would never think, oh, that role exists at Google. So it's like it's a very exciting opportunity where, and I'm pretty confident there are only few companies in the world where you can get this kind of a playground to play, and perform different roles. So I think that's one of the best things about Google is like if I'm like I did the same thing with like my M&A role. I spent a few years and I thought I was getting too comfortable and I decided to go and do something else, got into the retail strategy, apply what I learned through all my career to the retail space. So I think that's one of the things. And the second thing is just, collaboration. I've never seen the amount of the sense of collaborative effort or the amount of effort people put in to just collaborate with each other and not just try and drive something on their own. I think it's a very strong team spirit to kind of get something done. But the tough question, right? What do you not like the least? This is probably something you also sensed, or you probably get a feeling, with companies like Amazon or Google, like as you scale, right? Like you kind of create layers of processes and frameworks. And I think sometimes it's a little challenging to execute something very quickly or move fast. And I think it's a good thing as you scale, but sometimes it does kind of slow things down.
Yeah, for sure.
Not that it's a complaint or not that it's an issue, but it's more like it'll take a week more than what you anticipated just because of the processes and frameworks. I think that's part and parcel of any organization.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Scaling to be more than 100,000, right? Plus.
Totally agree. My last question is advice for those who want to join Google. What?
I would, I always, and I get this question many times, like, hey, what do you recommend, if I want to apply? I always recommend, I think, that first introspect, what journey are you trying to build? Because I think Google is not, I don't think you should look at Google as a place for a X, Y, or Z role. I think you should look at Google as a journey which you're going to embark on.
Yeah.
And that journey is going to be full of surprises, experiences, amazing engagements with the different people. You will have super amazingly smart and talented people. And like I said, you'll always have that imposter syndrome. I've been here for almost 3 years, and I always feel like, do I even fit in this organization, or do I even belong to Google? So I think before you apply, understand what you are, trying to achieve, and understand that this organization is not looking to hire you for a specific role only. It's I think there is a lot more emphasis on the culture, cultural fit, the Googliness aspect. And I would actually recommend everyone to read a book by Eric Schmidt called How Google Works. I think no article, no other resource can really match to that book when it comes to preparing for an interview or even thinking about working at Google. I think it really goes broad and deep in explaining the culture. I did that for my own opportunity and my own interviews. Really go through that book, understand what the culture is, why did Google start this, why are we here, and what is the most, like, what's the core of Google, what makes Google good special, and go through that book, and I think it'll automatically help you to prepare for the next step. But don't look at Google as another company to apply for a role. It's not an opportunity to apply for a role and work there. It's a journey you have to embark on, and most of the times I've seen people, once they're here for a long time. So majority of the people tend to stay here longer than anywhere else. So I would strongly recommend like those things. Everything else is very administrative, application and referrals, and those automatically happen once you prepare yourself, you understand your own goals in life and what you want to achieve through Google, and how you want to contribute to Google. I think that's another area. So that would be my recommendation when it comes to looking at Google as your next career opportunity or next career change.